now we know how ions form. We're ready to learn a little bit more about how these substances end up with different particles kind of what seems to be like glued together. So here you have a slide that's showing us salt once again. Here's salt right here from a salt shaker kind of thing, looking real close up at crystals of salt. But if we could really zoom in with a super powerful microscope and look at the individual ions in these salt crystals, what we would see is something more kind of ish like this sort of arrangement here. So these cubes of salt are actually made of uncountless bajillions of tiny sodium ions, so that's sodium particles with a positive charge, and chloride ions, so chlorine particles with a negative charge. And because they have opposite charges, sodium has a positive charge and chlorine has a negative charge, you should know that opposite charges attract, right? Negatives and positives attract, just like a magnet, you can think of it. And so we have these sodium ions that have a positive charge because they lost an electron. We have these chloride ions that have a negative charge because they gained an electron. And since these now have opposite charges, they are going to be really strongly attracted to each other. And you can see in the diagram here how they're kind of packed together. So every single one of these green chlorides has positive sodiums clustered around it, and every positive sodium has negative chlorines clustered around it. And this is what we call the attraction between these ions is what we call an ionic bond. So ionic means it's to do with ions. And the word bond here is a little misleading. This isn't really like a bond as much as it's a very strong attraction. But attractions can be broken or pulled apart, just like magnets. You know, the stronger the magnets, the harder they are to separate, but they can be separated. It's an attraction, not really a bond like a chain or a staple or anything like that. It's just a very strong attraction between these two particles that have opposite charges. And that's what we would call an ionic bond.